Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be giving a beginner's tennis workshop, just teaching the most basic strokes on tennis and some tips just to make your first time start be a little bit easier. So just a little bit about me. My name is Shreeya and I'm a junior at Montgomery High School. I've been playing tennis for about 9 years and I'm currently on the school's tennis team. And next year I'm going to be a senior, so that would actually be my last year playing for the school's tennis team. So I've been playing for a little bit of quite a while. So, this is a beginner level course on some of the most basic and beneficial skills required of tennis. And these skills are skills that are, constantly used, and they're just, you have to know these skills in order to actually succeed in tennis. So, that's why I thought these would be the best ones to teach. And this lesson will teach viewers how to hold a proper tennis grip and go over the proper technique for a tennis forehand and backhand stroke, which are like the two most used strokes in tennis. It'll just provide a good understanding on the most important concepts and skills required of tennis, and all can participate. So, the materials for tennis is just an open space to practice, some tennis sneakers, tennis balls, which in this case would only be at like a tennis court, and a tennis racket. Ideally, the best place to practice is at a tennis court, but if you just want to practice your strokes, an open space is really all you need. I used to do that when I was younger just to brush up on my strokes. So there's a big difference between tennis shoes and running shoes, like your standard sneakers, and it's important to have tennis shoes because they are made for you to easily switch directions when running. So without tennis shoes, it is easier to twist or sprain your ankles. The best way to identify tennis shoes is that the vamp, which is labeled right here, the vamp should be much wider and larger than the vamp of like a regular running shoe. So, as for tennis balls, the most popular brands are Wilson and Penn. At least those are the ones that I use. And the best type of balls to get are the plain green ones. However, if you are just starting out or if you're like a little bit younger, it could be helpful to get balls with like the green dot, which is labeled right here, or the ones that are just bigger, which are like usually colored differently. Like maybe they're green or like pink and all those colors. Those with the green dot have like a 25% reduced bounce, and that makes it ideal for like kids to start out with. In order to know which racket size is best for you, hold the potential racket at the palms of your hands and make sure to hold it at the very bottom of the racket. So that's like the thinnest part of the racket, not the head of it. It should barely touch the ground. If it doesn't reach the ground or it does not have like if it doesn't fit between the space between your hand and the ground, then the racket size is not the best match. Having a good racket size will allow for you to hit the ball with the best possible speed and strength, which will just make your game much better. So, having a proper grip is critical to maximize the ball speed and placement accuracy, meaning where the ball lands on the court. In order to have a good grip, hold the racket at the bottom of just the racket, so like not the head part. And if you're using, and you will use like your base knuckle of your index finger. If you are left handed, you will use your left hand and then vice versa. From there, depending on what stroke you're hitting, you can make the appropriate changes to your grip. You won't always use the same grip depending on what stroke you're hitting. So if you're doing a forehand, make sure to place that knuckle on bevel 2. If you're doing a backhand, you have to use two hands. Your dominant hand will be on bevel 1 and your other hand will just be on the left side like over that hand, like on top of it, like closer to the head. The best way to approach the two most important strokes in tennis, the forehand and the backhand, or at least like the most used stroke, is to hit the C motion. The C motion is where you essentially make the C shape with the head of your racket. Other coaches might call it like something different, but like I like to call it the C motion because you kind of make the letter C. You start with the racket head up and then bring it down in a circular motion and then bring it back up to finish the C. At the end of the stroke, you should always have the top of the racket like at your shoulders, which just confirms that you made that C shape. The backhand is like the same process, except you would just use two hands instead of one, and it will happen at the opposite side of the forehand. So, for example, if you're right handed like me, forehands would be at the right side of you, and then backhands would be at the left side of you. So the best tips that I can give is like for one, you have to practice because obviously practice makes perfect. And the things I taught today, they only improve with practice. Another thing I can say is to do warm ups and cools downs just to get your muscles ready, like, for any big games. If you're playing, like, an intense game of tennis, doing a warm up and a cool down really helps to, like, just make sure it can kinda help, like, prevent injuries and all that. Another tip I can give is to record yourself playing and compare your form with other tennis players, like professionals. If you see how you're playing, you can notice where you'd want to improve and things like that, and you can kind of switch it yourself just to like mimic your favorite tennis players to like, just make your game a lot better. Also, you could follow online workouts to just strengthen muscles for tennis. These are some YouTube channels that I used to do, or I still do, but like those are some really good ones to strengthen muscles for tennis. Because if you strengthen your muscles and endurance for tennis, your game will just be better. And obviously, practice at local tournaments. And the most common one is USTA. That's the best like place to see local tournaments. And if you like keep practicing with people around your level, then you'll just automatically improve. Last but not least, I have some helpful websites and channels that just help me overall with tennis. Tennis Warehouse and Tennis Express are great places to like buy equipment like tennis clothes, tennis shoes, and all that kind of stuff. USTA is what I said before, where you'd want to register at local tournaments. They also have like a bunch of other tennis tips and videos that you can see on their website. And then Top Tennis Training is a really good YouTube channel to like strengthen your tennis muscles or the muscles you need for tennis, just to like, practice and like keep in shape and all that kind of stuff. Using websites like this and like other ones you find on the internet will just overall strengthen your game, because as much as you can play like on a court, you should also try to like strengthen like yourself outside of the court. And that's pretty much it. Hi guys, my name is Shreeya and I'm a junior at Montgomery High School. And one of my favorite sports to play is tennis. So I've been playing tennis, I think, since I was like in second or third grade, so it's like a pretty long time. And I'm part of the Montgomery High School girls tennis team. So I thought it'd be fun if I could like teach a few, like the very, very basics of tennis. Tennis is like one of those sports where like in the beginning it seems pretty easy, but as you like keep playing and playing, it gets like a lot harder and it's pretty hard to improve on. It's kind of like practice makes perfect type thing. So I thought I'll teach like the very basics just because I feel like that's pretty easy to get around. And we're unfortunately in my conservatory because like due to the COVID-19 and all that, I didn't want to like go to like a tennis court and stuff. Also, it's pretty cold outside, so I thought it's probably not a good idea to do that. So we're just gonna be in my conservatory for today, which is fine, just to like learn the few basics and stuff like that. So what you need is obviously a tennis racket. Since I'm just teaching like the basic moves, we're not going to be using a ball or anything like that. But like obviously when you're playing tennis, you'd want to have like a ball and like a partner to play with. And that's pretty much it. You need like good shoes, like good comfortable outfit, water, stuff like that, for every outdoor sport. But yeah, we'll just get started. I'll get my tennis racket, which is over here. So here's my tennis racket. So just to like the first thing that you want to do is like make sure you have a really good grip, because that kind of like influences like the amount of power you have like when you're hitting to the other side of the net. So for a good grip, I kind of like to view this as like a clock. So this is 12 o'clock, this is 3 o'clock, this is 6 o'clock, this is 9 o'clock. You want like this pointer part, like this knuckle, to be at 4 o'clock. So 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock will be like here. So, and your hand should be like gripping at the bottom of the racket. So again, 4 o'clock, you want it to be gripping at the bottom. Sorry, I'll hold it like this. You want it to be like kind of gripping at the bottom. That's, you have the most control when you're here. Versus like if you're like here, it's kind of harder to hit. So you want it like over here. That's probably the best way you should do it. And again, this is for a forehand grip. So this is like your dominant hand. So for me, my dominant hand is my right hand. If you're a lefty, you're gonna want to do everything but just reverse. So again, you want it to be at the 4 o'clock, and you want it to be at the bottom. So once you have this grip, oh wait, I'll do the backhand too. So this is assuming that you want to hit everything to the right of you, and if you want to hit anything to the left of you, you actually have to use two hands. So use your left hand, and your grip actually changes in between from like forehands to backhands. That's what, your forehands to backhands are like your dominant side to like your non-dominant side. So as I said, this was 12 o'clock. And if you want to do backhands, you're going to do 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, like that. You want it in between 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So if it's your backhand, again, this is your backhand side, so you want it to be like this. and then 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You want it to be at like 2 o'clock. At least this is for your dominant hand. So it's going to be like that. And then your left hand, if you just hold out your racket like this, you want your left hand just grip it right on top. You don't want it like that much space or anything. You just want to hit it right on top. That makes it like easy to just hit with your non-dominant side. So as for the first step after you like master the grips and stuff is basically just getting ready to hit shots. So to get ready, you want to do something called ready position. And this is just to prepare for, that's just your way for preparing for wherever the ball's going to go. So if it goes over here, here, close to the net, you always want to be in ready position. And whenever you're done hitting a shot, you always want to return back to this position because that shows that you're ready for the next, any other shots that come in between. Basically what you do is you kind of like prepare for a forehand grip. So again, if this is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you want it to be at 4 o'clock. And then you can, some people like to put their left hands like here. I like to put it on the throat. This is called the throat. So I like to put it on the throat, like very lightly. I don't want to hold it. And I like to have a slight bend in my knee and kind of like sway back and forth. That kind of like shows that you're ready, kind of like gets you moving. Some people, I feel like the best thing to do is also kind of like get on your feet, kind of like a dance. Like that kind of shows you're ready so that whenever the ball comes, you're not just like standing there and you're like, oh my God, the ball's coming. You're like ready to go if you're like this, moving around. You can move back and forth, you can jump, any sort of like movement that gets you completely ready so that you're not just standing still. So once you're mastering all that, as soon as you see the ball come in contact with the other side, so like if some person's hitting it to you, you always want to do a split step. And that kind of, again, like shows you're ready. I know the ready position seems to have a lot of steps, but they're all completely necessary. So if you're moving and you see like a ball like coming to this side or any side, you want to do a split step. That just shows like, okay, I'm ready to move towards the ball. And now once we do that, I'm going to assume that the ball is coming from a diagonal and it's going to my forehand side. So your forehand side is, again, your dominant side. So whatever hand is like the one that you write with, stuff like that. So again, you're moving and then ready position, assuming the ball comes to this side. So what you want to do is after you do your split step, you want to immediately like turn. So basically in tennis, you never want to really, unless you're like kind of, even if you're volleying, you never really want to like stand straight except for like when you're in ready position. So when the ball comes to this side, you want to completely turn your shoulder. Your shoulder should be facing forward, not your chest. So if your shoulder's facing forward, you kind of want to make like a running, like I guess like a pose sort of. So it's obviously going to be much, much faster, but to slow it down, you split step and then you go like this. You're making kind of like a running pose, your shoulders facing forward, and your racket would be kind of like this. And I like to put my hands like this just to make sure that my shoulder is facing forward. So if my hand is like this, obviously shoulder's going to face forward. So that kind of like makes sure that happens. So split step, and then you go like this. Again, hands facing forward. You want to make like a C motion with your racket. So it's kind of like, if you look from this side, if you look like this, it makes like a C, like a big C. You kind of want to make that motion whenever you're hitting a ball. It's going to be much faster. I'm just slowing it down just to like make sure you got everything. So you turn, and then basically while you're doing the C motion, you want to run to the ball. So like obviously the ball's all the way over there. You're not going to be standing in this like running position. You're going to want to like, let's say the ball's here, you're going to take a couple of steps. And again, you're going to try to end with this position like right before you hit the ball. Some people can go like this. I personally like if you're like in this open stance. I feel like that gives you more power generally. So if you stand like this, again, your open stance. So while you're running, you're going to want to run, and then you're making your C while you're running. So basically, you start here, you do your run, and then you go like that. And you're probably going to end like here, because C, you want to end at the bottom. And then I'm going to go back here, but like assume that you ran over there. You run like this. And then as soon as the ball comes, like balls obviously like they bounce and then they come here. Once it comes here, that's when you can take your racket and then swing. So for the swinging part, you just kind of want to like, let's say obviously we're still here because shoulder's pointing that way. As soon as you swing, the ball's here. You take the racket and then you kind of twist your body so that your shoulder kind of ends up that kind of slant. And your legs should kind of like, my coach used to teach to me like kind of like twisting, like I guess like stepping on a bug. So like kind of like with this. So if you go like this, and then you go like that should be you stepping on the bug. And then your shoulder should be kind of pointing that way. You should finish with your racket on your other shoulder, this thing kind of pointing out that way. So again, just to like reiterate, you go like this, right? You see the ball coming to this side, you go ready position. Then you immediately turn, shoulder pointing that side. Again, rack should be up, your hands can be here, or even here, honestly, however, like, make sure that your shoulder points that way. So your rackets go like this. You go a couple of steps, and then while you're doing a couple of steps, racket comes down, so you go like this. And then as soon as you do that, you swing with your foot, like I guess twisting the bug. You swing, and then this thing I like to call it a flashlight that just points that direction, and then your racket should end with like on your shoulder, almost basically. That's on that side. I feel like a really good tip to remember in tennis is, like I said before, this is kind of like a flashlight. So wherever you want the ball to go, that's like where this should be pointing. So if you want the ball to go diagonal, which is the majority of the time, you're gonna wanna point this in that diagonal direction and then swing. If you want it, every once in a while, you're gonna wanna hit it straight forward. So whenever you do that, again, your open stance, you want this to go there, and then you can swing. And the majority of times, it'll go into that direction. So, number one thing in tennis is this sounds pretty like self-explanatory, but always look at the ball. Make sure you're in contact so that you should basically see the ball hitting, like your racket hitting the ball. If you're not seeing it, then it's most likely not gonna, it's gonna like completely mess up. If you like actually look at the ball and see your racket hitting the ball, it's gonna make it like much easier, and it's most likely gonna go away and very nicely and smoothly. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time looking at the backhands. Remember, again, the backhand grip is gonna be different. So 12 o'clock, that's 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock would be here. You want it like that, just grip like this. So starting from here, you always prepare the same way. You can go like this, that. You see the ball coming like this. You do a split step, because that's the first step always. Whenever any shot in tennis comes, you just do the split step. Then you wanna turn, right? So when you're turning, I remember how I said, like, you kind of start with the forehand grip. While you're turning, you need to turn the grip. You have to go from the 4 o'clock to the 2 o'clock. You have to do that. While you do that, it'll be, while you're seeing, you should be able to like detect, okay, it's gonna go to the backhand, so you need to, make that turn. And then while you do that, again, you do the same kind of C motion and do the same runs. Instead of an open stance, if you remember, forehand kind of, we did this open stance. Backhands, I like to kind of end it with a closed stance, kind of like with your right foot front versus like here, it's like your left foot is in the back, now your right foot is kind of front. So you make that thing, and then you make the C. I'm just like trying not to hit anything. You make the C, and then you kind of do that same motion wherever you want the ball to go. Make sure you point your flashlight to it. You make the same motion. And then while you're doing that, instead of doing this twisting bug thing, I have to completely bring my foot to the front. So like, again, forehand, you kind of want to twist the bug. And then when you're backhand, you kind of want to just completely bring your leg around so that you're kind of back in this ready position type thing. So again, you go, let's say you start here, you go this, then you completely twist your grip. You take a few steps, and then you go swing, and then you bring this back. You bring this forward. So after you're done hitting any shot in forehands or backhands or whatever shot you want to do, you always have to return back to where you started. So that's like the middle of the line, like the very back. It's very hard to see from here, but it's like the middle of like the back line, the very back line. So you want to always, let's say if you're here, like after hitting a shot, you always want to like shuffle back to your ready position or in the spot that you started in. That's just because, let's say like a ball goes all the way on this side. If you just stand there, your opponent can easily hit it to the other side, and then you're gonna have to run a lot more than that. So you want to like always hit, then return back to where you started, and then that way, if your opponent hits to the other side, it's gonna be much easier to run and get it. So I'm pretty sure that's all the basics that I have. I can't really think of anything else.
So, yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope this made everything a lot easier for learning a little bit of tennis.